I did want to tell you very briefly about our trip to New Orleans. 2 weeks ago was Pearl Harbor Day, the 75th anniversary of the attacks on Pearl Harbor, and we were in New Orleans at the World War II Museum. 28 of us traveled there. It was a wonderful trip. One of the highlights was being on this trip with Warren Goss, who's right here. And Warren landed on D-Day at Utah Beach. He was part of the 531st Special Brigade, an engineering brigade that landed ahead of the first wave on Utah Beach on D-Day, June 6, 1944. And when we were filing out, there were the Liberty Bells out there, and it was, we went out the show door, and we let them know that, Warren was a World War II vet, so they serenaded him with The Army Comes Rolling Along, and Warren, and then they gave him kisses too. You can see, I don't know if you can see on his face there. And Warren said, and I will not be embarrassing him, but he said, "You're lucky I'm married." But I have to also say it was really special to have Warren with us, because when you go to the World War II Museum, one of the things you do is you watch a movie about World War II. And we're watching the movie, and as we're watching the movie, they show a clip of a guy crawling in the brush on Utah Beach, and that guy was Warren. Oh, that's what Warren looked like. Warren, you haven't changed a bit.
That's what they say.
You have a grenade in your hand. What'd you do with that grenade?
I played ball with it. I'll tell you, Todd, I used a lot of those damn hand grenades.
You did use a lot of hand grenades.
I sure as hell did. When I was on patrols, I used a lot of them. Yeah.
Not being a veteran, you get to ask a lot of stupid questions. What's the benefit of a hand grenade? I mean, as opposed to, your M1, your rifle.
Well, it surprises them a lot, And it's easier to get, when you're at close quarters, it's easier to get a hand grenade.
Get a hand grenade off.
Yeah, and that cricket would come in handy too, because...
Tell people about the cricket.
Well, it was mostly in the dark. That lasted for about 3 days, and the Germans caught on really fast, but it was mostly at the night for that.
And it was a clicker. It would make a sound.
Yeah, I still got it.
You still have it?
Yeah.
And you made a click sound as a way to communicate?
Yeah, and it was in the hedgerow. You give one click. And then if you heard 2 clicks, he was a friend. And if he didn't hear 2 clicks, you'd throw the hand grenade.
Oh, boy.
And
you said the Germans caught on.
Yeah, they caught on to that pretty quick.
Wow.
Yeah.
Warren was part of another operation called Operation Norwind, which was another gigantic German attack on the American lines. It's not remembered like the Battle of the Bulge, but if the Bulge hadn't happened, we would be talking about Operation Norwind because it was enormous. Another surprise, enormous attack just south in Alsace-Lorraine, Saarbrücken.
Oh my.
You were Saarbrücken. And there was the same bad weather, the same kind of fighting. And you got frozen feet, right?
Well, almost frozen feet.
Almost frozen.
Anyway, I got up to run when the Germans were coming through, and I couldn't run too good. And I got Tony Flossie, good buddy of mine. He says, I crawled under a tank, and then he pushed all the snow over the top of that wheel,
Was it a German tank or an American?
I don't remember what the hell it was. It was a tank. And I got under there, and they covered it up, and all the snow and no footprints left there. And they took off, and I get laid there all night, the rest of that day, and all night, and part of the next day. Tony says, we'll come back and get you. And I laid there and took off my shoes, and I rubbed my feet, and I took the socks off and put clean, dry socks on. And I could hear the Germans going by. And at least I was out of the wind, And that's what I did. I laid there I guess it'd be one full day and one full night.
Whoa.
And Tony come back and he says, okay, Warren, we get you out of here now.
He came back for you.
Yeah. And then in the bulge, you know, if you can imagine in all those woods and trees, and it happens to be the snow deep and you're laying in your foxhole and everything is really quiet, moon shining, you see a lot of shadows, and a big lump of snow off of one of those pine trees would fall down and hit you on the head and scare the hell out of you. You know, you thought some German jumped you.
Wow.
You know.
And you still had a lot of war to fight then after the bulge.
Oh, my God.
You made it all the way to VE Day.
I made it up. My war ended in Frankfurt. They had a glass roof. And I was, I don't know how I ever got up there, but I was up there throwing hand grenades down at the Germans running around down there.
And that's when you learned that the war was over?
That's where it ended for me.
That's
yeah.
where it ended for you?
Yeah.
And then they shipped you back home and...
Well, when the war ended, Todd, they put me in a hospital down there in someplace in Germany. And I talked to a lot of veterans and asked them if they remember the last shot. I remember my last shot that I had in Germany.
What was
I'll
that?
never forget it. I was in this hospital, and I don't know why I was there, but they gave me an exam, see. And I think they knew they were going to send me home, but they put me on guard duty at the gate. And I was laying in there at the gate, and there was 3 of us there. And way off in the field, there was a big high-tension power line that took the electric, and the Germans had the lights on. Now the war was over, see. And I looked at that thing, it's just getting dawn, and I says, look at that transformer over there. I says, I took the ammunition out of my rifle, I put in an AP.
What's an AP?
Armor piercing.
Okay.
I took one shot at that damn transformer and I hit it. It's one of them big electric towers, you know. The sparks flew, everything was going off, and I could see the town just getting dimmer and dimmer and dimmer and dimmer. I says to the guys, they're used to living in the dark, that wouldn't hurt. And then, Todd, there was a guy in back of us, a German. He was hiding behind the shrubs there. And he was all bandaged up and crippled, you know, and I didn't even know he was there. But after I made that shot, he says, "Das ist gut Schusten." But that was my last shot.
Thank you so much, Warren. Thank you for coming today. We have somebody who served in 2 branches of service who might be able to talk about each one. Steve Brittian. Here he is on the left when you were a Marine, and there you are on the right in the Army. Which did you like better, Steve?
Well, I had a chance to rehearse that answer today because Amber asked me that very same question.
She did?
When we got here.
Okay.
Right. Well, the Marine Corps, I guess, gave me a foundation to work on. As far as my ethics and values and everything like that, and military-wise training and things like that, it gave me a strong foundation, which once a Marine, always a Marine. I'll always have that. I'll never be anything else.
And I should tell the kids, the Marine Corps is famous for being the toughest branch of service. The training is the hardest. It's physically, emotionally, psychologically, mentally demanding training. The boot camp itself is so demanding that even graduating from boot camp is just a huge achievement in the Marine Corps, and that's what makes you a Marine, right?
That is the one glue that holds the Marines together, that shared experience going through boot camp. Everybody in the Marines goes through the same boot camp, no matter what job you do on. And they teach you in boot camp starting how to be a leader, which is one thing that's different, I think, from the other branches. You start learning about leadership as you go on through professional development, becoming an NCO and going to the courses and stuff.
You have on your hat the Combat Action Badge or Combat Infantry Badge and then the Purple Heart Ribbon, and you received that serving in Iraq?
Yes.
When were you in Iraq?
In 2005 and 2006.
Okay, a lot of action there. What was your job?
I was an infantry platoon sergeant.
You're an infantry platoon sergeant. How old were you then?
I turned 50 while I was there.
You turned 50.
Yeah.
Did they call you Grandpa?
I'm sure they did.
So not to your face?
No.
All right. And here's another. I mean, because you were commanding, what, 19, 20-year-old kids?
A lot of young kids, yes.
And you had kids of your own, like Amber back home,
I did. She graduated from college while I was there.
while you were there.
Yeah.
How much did you worry about him, Amber?
Oh, yeah. Every day.
Every day.
Every day. Yeah.
How did you get your Purple Heart?
Well, we were on what they called a quick QRF. We had two vehicles out.
Quick URF, what is that?
Quick reaction force.
Quick reaction force, okay.
But we were placed forward, so there were two vehicles out in the sector, so we could be there in minutes.
Right.
And if you were in Iraq, you knew that there were bolos every day. Be on the lookout, just like in the police. Be on the lookout. Be on the lookout for the white Toyota pickup, suspected vehicle-borne IED, VBID. Well, 50% of the vehicles out there are white SUV trucks, So whenever the tanks would pull the suspected one over, they can't get out to search it, so they would call for us, and we'd go out and do it. And we just happened to pull up on one that they had stopped, and another tank pulled up to help and pulled off the road and ran over a double-stack anti-tank mine right by where we were, and so we just caught part of that.
And what was the nature of your injuries?
Just a little bit of,
A little bit.
yeah.
How quickly were you able to get the word back home that you're fine, everything's okay?
Well, I wasn't going to say anything because they didn't know everything I was doing. I tried to downplay, what.
The danger.
Right.
Right.
So somebody else made that phone call against my wishes. I was not very happy when I found out that they called, and
I bet you weren't very happy, Amber.
Yeah, you could say that. Yeah.
so.
You worked with interpreters a lot?
Well, you had to, because when we went through our training, you got like maybe 5 or 6 hours of language training, which was pretty crappy.
Yeah.
For all the sixth graders.
5 to 6 hours, yeah.
Yeah.
Not good training.
Yeah,
right?
not very good. So a lot of it we picked up on our own, and mostly what we knew were hands up, put your gun down, turn around, lay down, be quiet, go here, go there, pretty much it. So
Right.
couldn't really get a lot of information that way. So you had to have interpreters attached to you so you could really,
And so the interpreters are local Iraqi people who are working with you to translate, but also to interpret the culture. You don't, it's a complicated society. You don't know who's on what side, and they help you kind of navigate your way through these villages and cities.
Right. If you, in the United States, if you live here and you go to the South, dialect
Yeah.
and the tone and everything is different, and you don't know that when you're in Iraq or Afghanistan.
Right.
Somebody that lives there knows, hey, that guy's from Syria, or, that guy's not from here,
And so you really depend on them, and you grow close to them like you're their brother, their comrades, right?
Yeah, 'cause we had two that we worked with mostly in Iraq, and they all had nom de guerres,
Right.
because if Al-Qaeda, AQI, found out about them themselves or their families were
Right.
in grave danger. Jerry and Sam were the two of ours. You get to know them. Sam, he was an officer in Saddam Hussein's army during the Iran-Iraq war, and so he had a lot of stories about the human wave attacks that the Iranians used, and things like that. And then Jerry, we called him the Kurdish commando because he was a Kurd. But all the armed services do have a lot in common, even though they're all different. They all have the stars in common. The Army and the Marine Corps sleep under the stars, the Navy navigate by the stars, and the Air Force rate their hotels by the stars.